Slow Living. In this video, I will show you how to properly mend rips in your garments. I will be mending some jeans, but you can use this same method to mend any types of pants or garments that you have ripped or found a hole in. This is the way to properly mend them so that they don't rip again in the same spot. It's great because you can get so much more wear out of your clothing, and for jeans especially, when you've found the perfect fit, the perfect cut, or you've made them to fit your body really well, the last thing you want to do is throw them away when they've still got so much wear left in them. I can almost guarantee that most jean rips can be fixed and be back to pretty much as good as new once you have used this method to mend them. Let's get started.
Alright, as you can see, this hole that I have in my friend's pair of jeans, actually they're not my jeans, is pretty bad. It's right under the butt and it's more than 1 inch by 1 inch, so it's quite a big hole. It doesn't matter where your hole is, and that sounds horrible, or how big the rip in your jeans or your pants or your top or anything is, we can use this same technique to mend that hole. You will need a bit of scrap denim, ideally matching the color of your jeans. It will make it more subtle, but it's not essential. You'll also need the thread to match the color of the denim or whatever it is that you're mending, so that, again, the mend will be as natural as possible. Perhaps what is more important is that the weight of the fabric that you use to patch your garment matches. So if you're using a heavyweight denim jean, you want a heavyweight denim to patch those jeans. And you want this patch to be at least 2 centimeters bigger all around, or around 1 inch bigger around your hole, so that you've really got room to move around it and to mend around it. If your patch is not big enough, then your stitching will just pull away from the hole and all of your mending will be for nothing. Now you want to place your patch on the inside of your jeans and aim to cover the entire hole, like I said, with that 2 centimeters around it, and try and pin it in place. This is a bit of a fumbly process, but the only way is to kind of do a bit of trial and error. So pop your hands around the hole as best as possible. I should say rip because hole just sounds horrible. Pop some pins in and then flip it around the right way out so that you can see where your pins are, like this, and then you can adjust the patch. Ideally, you really want those pins to end up over that rip. So just keep adjusting it until you achieve that. I forgot to mention that you can see that I've got a little bit of yarn going over that rip, and if you have the same thing, of course that's normal. You want to keep that there. So if it's all tangled and stuff, then maybe you'll have to cut all of those fraying bits of fabric away, but you do want to try and preserve it if possible, because that will help to sort of recreate the yarn that's missing or that's worn away. So for example, like think of it as like you're combing over hair, so you really want those little bits of yarn to cover the hole rather than cutting them away. As you can see, it took me a few good goes to really cover the hole properly. But now that you've got it, you can flip your jeans the right side out, so i.e. not inside out, and add some extra pins so that you're holding that scrap fabric in place. You want everything to be nice and flat because soon we're going to start sewing over it, and the last thing you want is for anything that's underneath on that scrap to be bunching up or to be folded over or anything like that. For this mending project, I would highly recommend using a sewing machine because it will come up a lot nicer than if you're hand sewing. If you don't have a sewing machine, go for it, try and hand sew this, but just know that it will take you a long time. Just try and do a really neat running stitch, so I guess a basic like up and down, following the same process that I show you here. Okay, as you can see with my rip, there are still actually some yarns going left to right, so I'm really trying to recreate the up and down yarns. And I can start to do that by sewing in a zigzag pattern. So this first zigzag is quite wide and you just want it to cover the entire rip, going a little bit past the rip each time as well, because you want to create strength on either side of the rip and really reinforcing that area. You can use the reverse sewing feature on your sewing machine. All sewing machines should have that, including domestics. So just sew straight forward, hit the reverse, go back the other way, and then go forward again. Once you have covered the length of your rip, it should look something like this. And then you can flip your jeans inside out to double check that your stitching actually lands on your scrap piece of fabric. If it's going over the edge, now is a good time to unpick and start again, because trust me, you do not want to do that later on and waste all of your effort. Ideally, you want at least 1 centimeter around the whole thing, so I'm really pushing it on one edge there. But once you're happy with that, the next thing to do is to just reinforce the rip by going backwards and forwards over it in a really skinny zigzag like I'm doing here. You can do it in a few layers by going over and over and over a few different times, or you can just make your zigzag really, really skinny like this and go back and forth. Now you should keep doing that until you've covered your entire rip. You should not be able to see your rip anymore, and the mend should look like this. As you can see, if you've used a matching thread and you've done everything nice and neat, the rip and the mend should be very subtle now, and you have successfully mended your garment.
So there we go, those jeans are as good as new. You should be able to get a lot more wear out of your clothing once you learn how to mend it properly, and that's really good news for us as well as the environment. Leave a comment below if you have any suggestions for what I could also help you with in terms of mending clothing, maybe in terms of sustainable fashion and things like that. I would love to answer any questions you might have, as well as offer up any tutorials on how to sew more basic garments that you could add to a me-made wardrobe. Making your own clothes makes you appreciate the beauty, the skill and the effort, the resources really that go into creating garments, and it makes you really treasure your clothing for many more years to come. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can find me here, of course. Subscribe if you liked this video, and if you would like to see more tutorials or mending videos. I also do some thrift flips. I'm gonna have a few of those videos coming up, so subscribe if you like that kind of thing. That's the kind of stuff that I hope to share on this channel so that we can learn more about sustainable fashion, how we can each sort of do our part to creating better alternatives than just buying cheap, nasty clothing. I'll see you again soon, and thank you for watching. Leave a suggestion below showing you how to sew things, really basic garments. It's a really great place to start curating a nice, slow, minimal closet that is more environmentally friendly and a lot less clutter for our minds. It's a really nice introduction to starting to live in a and instead of throwing them out, giving them away, or discarding them, you can give them a lot more life, because I don't know where I'm going with that.